So first problem, let's solve it. Make sure you have the problem number and problem everything in your Jupyter notebook file. We are going to calculate the pay with two conditions. More than 40 hours or less than 40 hours. For more than 40 hours, 1.75 rate, and for less than 40 hours or equal to 40 hours, it is going to be the same rate that is going to be entered by the user. Okay, first, they ask us to do the exception handling. That means handle the input, whether they have entered, the user has entered the proper input. Check it like that. They have given the use try except method, right? So inside the try, we are going to get the hours. So you can say hours as a variable and int input, prompt the user to enter the hours worked. And the second variable is rate. Again, that is also integer, and input to prompt the user and asking enter the rate per hour. You're right. Rate should be decimal. Thank you. Yeah, it should be float. Yes, float. And then except how we can handle it, print an error message saying error, please enter integer or numeric input. Like that, we can simply say error message to handle the improper input. Else is the actual code. Inside the else, you have to give the actual code. Always function definition and function calling. Always in many language, function definition should be first, function calling can be the next. So did I give the function name? Yes. I think you had enter, you should give the employee compute pay, function called compute pay. So follow the instruction and use the same name. Def compute pay is the name that I asked you to give. So please do that. Function definition. Colon should be there. When parameters should be here. Parameters, right? What are the parameters? Hours and rate can be the parameters. Parameters. And it can be anything. It should not be the thing, but always it should be inside the L spot. L spot. Okay, so obviously L spot will be after try except. So it should be after. So if H is, look at the algorithm. What is the algorithm? If H is greater than 40, then pay is the variable. Okay, whatever H minus 45, sorry, minus 40. So if it is 45 minus 40, the extra hours will be 50. I mentioned extra hours. How can you calculate extra hours? Hours minus 40, the template. And then it is going to be the rate, right? So what is the rate that we want to apply there? From the current rate, 1.75. So 1.75 into R. But for the actual normal working hours, which is 40, right? For that 40, it is going to be normal rate that we want to give. Yes. If it is less than or equal to 40 hours, then the pay is going to be simply hour into rate. Okay. And then break it, and then after that definition, after that L spot, we are going to, because this returning pay is for both if and else, it should be part of that DEF. It should not be part of this if else. Okay, it should be in the same level of the return pay. Okay, next, we are going to say payment. or salary, anything. You can say any name. Salary equal to, here we have to do function calling, right? So what is the function? Compute pay is the function. Here we have to pass argument. What is the argument? The, yeah, H and R, we are getting it inside the trie. So that is the argument. And now then we are printing the result. Your pay is dollar, string concatenation, convert that salary into string, run it. It asks for enter the hours. What? I'm saying exactly 40 hours. And then the rate per hour is going to be $10. Then it would say your pay is 400. So let me try it with the different input to check the first condition. So this time I'm saying enter the hours 45, and then the pay per hour again $10. So you can see that $5 into 1.75 into 10, that will be added in addition to that. So 400 will be there, but for the extra 5, it will be 10 into 1.75 into 5. Okay. So I want this input. When you submit your PDF, I want this input. Okay. To make sure this condition has been coded well. Write a program and create a function called isDivisible that takes two numbers as parameters. Determine the first number is divisible by second number or not. The function should print the result. The program output, I will show you the output. You can see the output in the lab problem. So how can we deal with that? Discuss about, first you have to get the input, and then a function that is going to see whether the inputs are divisible. The first input is divisible by the second input, and calling, print the result. So these are the components. Get the input. Always have the input. Function definition can be first, but always go with the sometimes getting input and then function definition, function calling. That would be the good structure. So first, let's get input, and to keep it simple, both are integer. Okay. So with the floating point, making divisible, finding out divisible is kind of little bit complicated. So enter the first number and N2 second variable, and again prompting the user input, enter the second number. Okay. Def is the keyword, is divisible. Name. We are doing function call, function definition. And parameters are N1, N2. And look at the algorithm. We decided to use the modulus for this, right? So when the modulus value is equal to 0, then it means it is divisible. Because modulus value always give you the remainder value. When there is no remainder, that means it is divisible. So when there is no remainder, that means if N1 modulus of N2 value is 0, here is the thing, okay? This is the content of this program. When it is 0, then tab print is saying N1 string concatenation is divisible by N2. Else print. Maybe you can copy and paste. N1 is not divisible by N2. So it's simple, very simple. the function definition part is done. Now let's work on the function calling part. Okay, function calling is very simple. Just use the function name and pass the argument. What are the argument? The arguments will be entered in runtime. N1 modulus N2. Yeah, so colon. I missed the colon here. Enter the first number, let's say 100, and enter the second number, let's say 2. 100 is divisible by 2. Okay, even you can expand it and try it like what is the divisible, what is the answer for the divisible that you can print here. Okay, but let's keep it simple. So this is the answer, coding result, coding answer for the problem. Write a program, create a function called power random that generates two random integer numbers, base and exponent, which are between 1 and 10. The function calculates the base power exponent using math.power function and print the result. So almost everything is given. All the hints are given inside the problem itself. The function does not have any parameters because the parameters are randomly generated. Okay. The program output is shown below. Okay. So you can see the problem, the output in the lab problem document. However, here is the hint for this problem. You're not passing. So what is an, you know, the power thing, right? X power A. Okay. What is the X power A? For example, 5 squared equal to 5 into 5. 5 cube equal to 5 into 5 into 5. So that is the power component. So we have math library that can do all this math related calculation for us. We're going to use math, okay, to do this. And also you're going to use one more library called random library. So when you have installed Python, these all extra library packages have been already installed with your Python. Simply you have to import it. So we are going to use import keyword. Note it down the keyword, import keyword to import this packages. So we are going to use two packages. One is random package. The another one is math package. To do this power calculation, we are going to use math package. Since the input should be between the randomly, we have to get the inputs, right? So to get the numbers randomly, we have a package called random number generator. In all languages, we have a package called random number generator. Python also has it. So that package name is random. Okay. So in random, there are multiple. You can create integer random number, floating point random numbers, different packages, sub functions are there. So we are going to start with integer random number. So how can we import a package? Import is the keyword, random is the keyword. Sorry, random is the package name. And then how can you call a function? Rand int is the function that is already written by someone that will generate a random number between the given inputs. For example, if you look at this code, how can you call that? Random package name, dot operator, and function name. What is the function we are going to use? Rand int. For if you are going to create floating point random numbers, the function name is different. We'll see that later. But right now, let's start with integer random numbers. So look at the result. So what is the result of this? It will just pick any number between 3 to 9. Each time I run this code, every time I get different. Now I got 8. So what this will print out? It will just pick a number between 3 to 9, 3 and 9. Now I'm running this, I'm going to get different number, 6. So random number generator, what it would do, each time it will randomly pick something and display. Okay, that is the random number generator purpose. Now have this separately. Next thing, we are going to import math library, okay, to do this math calculation. So for example, you can do a search, math power Python. Okay. So in Python, how to use math.power. So math is the package. So again, use the keyword import and then package name is math. So if you look at the Python documentation for math, let's explore the math documentation. You can see how many functions are there. Ceil, combine, absolute value, factorial, floor. There are multiple, like, huge set list of functions that you can use to find out the advanced mathematical calculation. Okay, here we are going to just use the power. So if you explore the documentation, you can see there should be power somewhere here. It should be in alphabetical order. Yeah, somewhere here you can find out the power. So math.pow is the package name. Okay. So you have to import the package math.pow and then you can see what is the base number and what is the power number. Here, this, so you're using a package to generate it. Okay, so you're using two packages here. Okay, maybe I'll explain the algorithm once again in the board. Okay, so always you have to start with import. If you're going to use a package for something that you're going to use some packages for your coding, then first you have to import those packages. That should be the first code. We're going to import two packages here. Random package, which will help us to create random number generator. Sorry. So random number generator, import random. Random is the package that will help you to create random number generator, which has a lot of methods, which we'll see later. But right now we are going to use only one method. Next, math. As I explained before, math is a package which has a lot of built-in methods that we can use in our code. We're going to use one of those methods to solve this problem. Okay, now after that function definition part, and I ask you to use this name. Okay, B, base, random, that is the package name, dot operator, method name. So the method name, we are going to use this method. Method, why I say method means, method is nothing associated with the object. Here the object is random. So this is a function, but it is associated to only to this object, random object. So that's why we call it method. And the input between 1 and 10. The limit is 1 and 10. Good. So this is for base. And then for exponent, we are going to use another one. Random. Again, create a random number generator. Random dot. Method name. So I'll give you a tip here. Dot operator, press tab. Dot operator, press tab. In Jupyter Notebook, it will give you the method which is available. The method which is, yes. So here I'm going to use rand int. Do you see rand int? So you can just click it. This is one thing, like only the advanced IDs will have this option. Okay, and then we are going to print. Either we can print the result or here itself, or we can return it. So let's print it. Base, not base. B is our variable, right? B power E string concatenation is, by this time you should be familiar with the string concatenation. Good. Int, converting it to int or string. But here we, when we just print the result, it can be string. But here we are doing the calculation. So it should be integer. Math dot press tab. math package dot press tab. It will give you the methods available as part of this math package. Which one do you want to select? POW. Here, do you see POW? You can simply select it. Okay. And then here, what we have to pass? Base E. Okay. And then finish this print. Or three, we're good with this parenthesis closing. And then we're going to call the function power random. Call the function. Every time you run it, you will get different results. Every time you run it, you will get different results because it is random number generator. And I will tell you one more thing regarding the dot help. Okay, math. I'll tell you. So there is a way that you can find out how math.power. Okay, I'll tell you. There is a way that you can find out the syntax for this like methods. Okay, I'll tell you later. But you can find out. You don't need to memorize the function name. Dot tab will give you all the associated functions. Okay, you don't need to memorize anything. Write a program and create the following functions. Shapes that takes the shape name and number as a parameter. So 2 parameters. And calls the proper functions to calculate the area. So it is going to be a function calling inside a function definition. Okay, so it's like functions inside another function. So the parent function is going to be the shape, which is going to take 2 values. One is the name of the shape. The another one is the value to calculate the area of the particular shape. The second one, the second function is area circle. So if the name, entered name is going to be the circle, then this function, area circle function needs to be called. And inside this function definition, you have to put the formula to calculate the area. For that, you need an input, which is the radius of the circle, which is going to be the value that is entered by the shape. Remember, in the shape function, we have 2 parameters. One parameter is the name of the shape, and the another parameter, something. For example, let's say 5. That 5 will be area circle, which will be radius. In case if the name entered is going to be the shape name is going to be the square, then we have to we are going to define the third function, which is area square, where you have to define the formula to calculate the area of the square. So the same 5, the value entered inside the shape will become the side length of the square, which will become the side value, that is A. Okay, so you know the formula for calculating the area of square, which is nothing but A squared, right? So by using that, we will calculate the area of the square. So that's the problem. Think about it. So first you have to import whatever the packages or library statement is going to be the import statement. So either here we are going to use the value of the pi, which we can use from math library. Even you can say 3.14 directly, it's up to you, but let's have some practice of importing packages. So import math. Next, input, right? What inputs that we need? Name is going to be the first input, which is the name of the shape. So let's prompt some input from the user saying enter the shape. And then value is going to be the value of whatever numerical input that is given, right? So we have to first convert that string to integer. So int passing input to prompt, enter the value to calculate the area. Good. So input part is done. So what is the next thing? We have to define three functions. Def is the keyword, and they have given what is the name of the function that you have to use. Shapes, function name. You have to pass two parameters. You know what is parameter, right? Parameter is the value that you have to pass to calculate something. The name and value. These are the two parameters, colon. And we have to decide only two areas, that two shapes that we are considering, right? So if that is circle and square. So if the name, exactly it should be circle. Okay, if the name, enter name is circle, then what you have to do? You have to call the function calling. You're going to define a function to calculate the area of the circle. So you're going to call that function. So camel case, as I mentioned, area uppercase circle to differentiate two words. It's up to you. You don't need to use the exact name. And the value you have to pass to call this function. So function calling with the parameter value. And then indentation ends. Yes, we have only two values. So one if else should be fine. If the value is circle, then it is you have to call this, or else you have to call square. Same value will be applicable to both circle calculation and square calculation. Okay. Because only one parameter is required for both. So now we are going to define a function called area circle. And here you can say that as value itself should still work, but just to differentiate, let's say radius. Even if you say value, still it would work. It's not a problem. So here we are going to print the answer. The circle area is string concatenation. So here we are going, not only are using pi, we are going to use the round function. Okay, round function is the built-in function from Python. You don't need to use math for that. So we are using round to round it to two decimal places, or else with the 3.14, lot of values, 4 decimal, it may have lot of decimals. So we are going to limit the decimal places to 2. So how to import pi value? To import a value or function from the package, you have to use the package name. Here math is the package name, math dot operator. And here we are going to use the attribute, not a method. So the attribute is pi. So which is pi value into the radius. Okay, and then here we are specifying that it should have 2 decimal location. Okay, so the third function to calculate the area of square. Here the value is going to be edge, print the square area is formula is edge square, edge square. Limited to do this 2 decimal location. such function definitions. Function calling for these two functions are here, but it will not be called unless you call this. So we have to call that main function. We're calling that main functions with the parameter name, value. So how it will work? Let's do a workflow. First, in math package will be imported. Then it will get the values and say the value in the variable name and value. And then it will read this, and then it will read everything. Okay, but nothing will happen. Okay, because there is no function calling. When you call this function, then what will happen? It will go to this place, this function definition, and check the entered value, because the value will be entered here, right? If it's a circle, then it will call this, where inside that you have this formula and printing option. If you have entered square, then LSPOT will be called, and then this function will be called. Okay, so let's run it. Enter the same. I'm going to enter square. So the second LSPOT will get selected, and inside the LSPOT, it calls area square. Enter the area square. Inside the area square, you have value. So it just looks for value. Now, value is not there. So now it calls this input and asks you to enter the value. They're entering 10. Then it calculates this. So you can note this. Initially, once you enter the shape, then automatically it calls this, and then only it asks for the value. Even though you have given the value, it doesn't ask the value immediately. What is that? Yeah, it's just get the shape, and then this function calling is there, and then only it asks for the value, even though you have given the input function before the function definition. See here, if you have added a parenthesis for this R square, that might cause an issue. Okay, so just take that parenthesis. It doesn't matter whether the values are here or before function definition, after function definition, it doesn't matter. Okay. So you have to remove that R square value. I added that parenthesis, which does not recognize because the ending parenthesis closed after 2. So that's like syntax error. It's a syntax error. So let's read the second problem. If you have removed that parenthesis, it should work now. The second problem, fifth problem, write a program and create a function called call. The function generates a random integer number between 10 and 100. Determines it is divisible by 6 or not. Maybe we missed. So divisible by 6 or not. The output is shown below. You can look at the output in the lab problem manual. So what you have to get, you don't need to get anything here actually. Random function, right? Random integer function. For that, you need random package. Remember how you imported random package? We have done it before in problem number 2. So you have to import random package. You're going to import a method to generate random number of integer. There is a method called randint. You can feel free to refer, Google it to see how you can use it. Okay. First, you have to import the package random. Next, you have to define a function, and the function name is going to be called. And then inside the function, you're going to call the random number generator to generate a number, to pick a number between 10 to 100. So refer the previous problems and see how you can use the randint function to pick a number, randomly pick a number between 10 and 100. And then you have to use whether it is see whether it is divisible by 6 or not. We have done it before to find the odd number or even number, right? So whether it is divisible by 6, to see that, how can you do that? Okay, that should be in function definition, and then function calling to call that call function. So these are the parts of the program. Okay, so let's import the package for random number generation, and package name is random. And then you have to define a function. They have given what should be the function name. So let's use the same name, call. And you don't need any parameter here because you're not getting any input from the user. The input is going to be generated randomly. So import package name, which is random dot, method name, which is randint. Okay. And then two values, 10 and 100. Between 10 and 100, randomly it will pick some value. Okay, so in the same indentation level, you have to say if n value is modulus of 6. Remember, we have done odd number. For that, we did modulus of 2. Here it is modulus of 6 equal to 0. If it can be divided by 0 without any reminder, that means it is divisible, right? So that's what we are going to say. Print n value string concatenation is divisible by 6. Okay, simple. Let's give some space so that the output will be good. Okay, next, else with the indentation, we're going to say n is not divisible by 6. Okay, this is just function definition. We have to do the function calling. So let's call the call. So if you run this, I missed this colon here. Okay, every time you run it, every time it will just pick a random number, because every time the function will be called, right? So each time the random number generator will generate a new number, which should be between 10 to 100. Okay, so it should be like this, random number generation. So I hope all of you got it done. Let's move on to the next problem. It is kind of little bit challenging, but good problem. It is a good learning for you. Write a program that calls the following function to produce the output shown below. Okay, so first they have given the function names. You're going to define 3 functions. The first function to calculate the average. The second function to get the letter grade. And the third function to print the result. So what it should be done, you have to prompt the user to enter their numerical grade. Okay, so that should be here in the, you have to define a function for that to get the inputs. Okay, not a function. Also note down that the program before calling the function should verify the grade and make sure all the grades are numeric. So we are going to use exception handling. So inside the try, you're going to get 5 inputs, numeric grade from the user. Once you got it, you're going to define 3 functions. One function is to calculate the average. The second function is to calculate the letter grade. So you have to follow this letter grading scenario. So think about that, what you can do to do this. If it is greater than that in A, B, C, D, E, so you have to use branching, if else, to do this, okay? So inside this get letter, you have to do the branching. And inside the print result, you have to do the result that is received from the get letter function that needs to be passed to the print result, and it will print out the result. Okay. So as we have discussed before, the function definition should be before function calling. Since we should not disturb that try except else construct, let's start defining all the functions before. So we had to have this calc average, calculate average function. Did they mention the name? What is the name that they have mentioned? Okay, so it's not uppercase A, it's lowercase a. Okay, function definition with the parameters. What are the parameters? We have to get five grades: G1, G2, G3, G4, G5. Parameters are done. Function calling. Okay, and then here expression formula. What is the formula to calculate the average? So G1 plus G2 plus G3 plus G4 plus G5 divided by 5. And then we have to return, right? We have to return this. Where we have to return? To the next function. So the next function is get letter. Here we have to return this. Whatever is returned by calc average, the value will be received here. Will be received here, okay? As a parameter. Then here, the average value is greater than or equal to 90 if, right? It can be, but you don't need, it doesn't need to be. It's just a reference, okay? You don't need to do that calculation. It's not needed, okay? Yellow. Maybe I will update that if it is confusing. I will update that. It doesn't need to be 0.9, any value, any average value. If it is greater than or equal to 80, then return B. It is a string. You're returning the string. L if the average value is greater than or equal to 70, then C. L if the average value is greater than or equal to 60, then you are going to return D. Else, you're going to return F. Define function, print results. What are the results? You have to print both AVG and letter. Print average AVG, print letter grade, letter. So we have defined all the functions. Now, main part, we have to get the input. We're going to do the try except because we don't want to handle the non-numerical input. So for that, we know how to handle that because we have done a lot of problems with that. Enter the first grade. Feel free to copy and paste. G2. Enter the second value. G3. Enter the third value. What's the grade value? Enter the fifth value, fifth grade value. Except error. All grades. If any of the one grade is numeric, non-numeric, then it will not process. It should say all grades should be numeric. So inside the else part, we're going to call all the functions. The first one, average. So to avoid confusion, I'm going to do this. I'm just creating a variable called AVE instead of, because you're returning here this average, right? I just want you to see where it is getting processed. Okay. So to avoid confusion, what is the variable here? That value will be processed. Just to show you that, I'm just giving different variable name. Normally the parameters and the argument value, it can be saved, but just to avoid confusion. In function definition, I'm using AVG. In function, main function, I'm using AVE. Because we are we are doing the function calling and saving the variable in the variable called AVE. So we're calling this function. And here you have to pass all the values. And then letter grade is a variable name. Here we have used letter as the variable name. So I will use letter. Get letter for AVE. And then print results is the function calling where you're passing this AVE and then letter. So this practice gives you a good understanding on naming, parameter naming, all those things. First grade value 98, 97, 96, 95, 94. Okay, it works perfectly. So let me explain the workflow here once again. You're defining all the function. First function to calculate the parameters. Sorry, average. Second one for the letter grade. And third one just to print the result. So using try, we are getting the inputs. And if it is non-numeric, we are passing the error. Inside the else, we are doing the function calling. So until this, the interpreter will be reading. It will not do anything. Okay, just will read. But the action function, the switch of that function, the actual switch, when you switch on the light, then only it will be activated. Actual switch will be here. Function calling. This function will be called. Then it will go here and see G1, G2, G3, G4. It will see where is G1, G2, G3. So it will see, okay, I have read it before. Like that, it will just see and get the values and pass it here. And it will calculate average. Okay. And then the average value will be saved here. Simply saved here. Nothing will happen. It will save it. And then read the second function calling, where get letter will be called. Now it will see where is the AVE. It will just go and fetch the value of AE from here, from this variable. And then we'll do all these things, conditions and check. And it will return either A, B, C, D, F. Where it will be returned? Where this A, B, C, D E will be saved. It is returning here, right? Where it will get saved. Here, in this variable, it will save, okay? Okay, then it will be there in that variable. And here, print results, where you're passing AVE letter. So it will simply go and fetch the values in AVE variable and letter variable, and will go and print the result. Workflow is very simple if you understood the concept.
Hello everyone. This is the third section of the lab for chapter 4 function. So in the third section, we're going to solve 3 problems using the function concepts that you learned in this chapter. So let's read 7th problem. Write a program to calculate BMI and create 2 functions that are described below. The program calls the function in order to calculate BMI and get the BMI category, and then display the output as shown below. Here, like this, okay? So the program should take only numeric inputs. Okay, that means you have to use try except error method to if someone enters non-numerical input. And we have to create this called BMI function, which takes the input as inches and weight as pounds, and should return the BMI, okay, by rounding it. The BMI formula is given here. And we have to write another function to get the category. This function takes the BMI value, which is written by this called BMI function, that will receive the input from that function. And we will write some code in that function to calculate the category, like whether it's in obese, overweight, normal, or underweight, these 4 categories. Okay, so we have to write the function, define the function to get the input and categorize this. So if you recall, I shared same kind of, we did the same kind of problem in chapter 2. Okay, so maybe I will update the category here, but anyway, we are going to do it right now. So how we are going to categorize? The BMI value is greater than 30 means it is obese. Maybe I will update the document here. Okay, so BMI is more than 30 means obese, 25 to 30 means overweight, less than 25 but greater than 18.5 means normal. If it is less than 18.5, it is underweight. Okay, so I will update this document. So we have to write the code for that. Okay, so 2 functions. We are going to have 2 functions. One function to calculate the BMI using this formula, and the second function to get the category. So by looking at the BMI value, we are going to categorize it by using if else function. So we're going to call these 2 functions in the main program. And before that, we have to also check that whether it is the user is entering numeric input. That means we have to use try except method for this. Okay, let's do it now. Problem number 7. So first, let's define the problem. As I mentioned before, always define the problems as the first thing. If you have to import something, you can import it. That should be your first code, or else function definition should be the first thing that you have to do. So calculating BMI, that function needs 2 inputs, height in inches and weight in pounds. So these 2 are inputs, parameters. So BMI value. So the calculation is given that, right? So weight divided by height into height multiplied by 703 and return BMI. So this is the function for calculating BMI. The second one, get category. Where we're getting BMI as an input. So if the BMI value is less than or greater than or equal to 30, then we are going to return. We can simply say the string as it is. Either we can print or we return some variable, but here we are returning the string as it is. If the BMI value is greater than or equal to 25 and BMI value less than 30, then we can say return over weight. Okay, ELF. What about the normal weight? For the normal weight, the BMI value should be greater than 18.5 and it should be less than 25. In that case, it will be normal. Yes, whatever the other categories, that means it will be less than 18.5. In that case, we'll say it is underweight. Okay, we have defined the two functions. Now, to take care of the exception handling, we are going to see whether the input is numeric or not. The height value, get the input by prompting the user to enter the height. And weight. From the user to enter the weight. So the possible error may be here. So we have put it in try. And in case if it has some error, then how we have to handle it in elegant way, the error message should be displayed. What should be the error message? This program only takes numeric input. Program terminated or anything, whatever message. If I have mentioned it specifically in the instruction, do that, or you can just give any kind of warning message. So that it should let the user to know that it cannot take the non-numeric input. So the else part, we have to do all the calling, function calling. So we are using a variable, we can say BMI is the variable, where we are going to call the function, call BMI function, and we have to pass the height and weight which we get from the user and save it in the variable height and weight. Okay, so this is to call BMI function, and to call the getCat function, category function, we have to pass the BMI, and that should be the parameter for the getCat function. And this should be printed. The final output is BMI is BMI. Any kind of string concordance, you can say string. They ask to round the value of BMI, right? So BMI rounded to 2. Rounded to 2. And then string concordation. And the category is string concordation. Or no, we don't need to do the concordation because it's already string, right? It is returning the string. What it is returning? It is returning this whatever normal weight over this string will be saved in the cat variable. Height 65 inches, weight 130, BMI 21, the category is normal. Okay, so you can try different categories to see whether all those options work. So I will review the program once again. So we are defining the two functions to calculate the BMI and to get the category. We are and then we are using the try exception handling method to see whether it is numeric input. Then we are passing the input inside the try and the possible error message inside the except, and function calling for these two functions under the else. That is the main program. Actual program will be in the main, and it is also printing the result. Okay, so this height and weight will be passed as a parameter here. So when the function calls this will be called, and the value of it will calculate the entered value, calculate the BMI. That BMI will be written here and saved here. And then in the second function calling, this BMI value will be picked and it will be passed as a parameter here. And based on this value, it will return something that will be saved here. So the final printout will print with the DMI value and category value. So this is the solution for problem number 7. So now let's do the problem number 8. Write a program that takes the terms of the loan as input, principal, interest rate as a percentage, number of parameters per year, number of payments per year, and total number of years. Computes the interest paid over the life of the loan and produce the output shown below. The examples shown below or for I have given some examples here, just note it down with these 2 examples. For example, the principal amount 100,000, 30 years, 12 payments with the interest 4.5. Okay, so like that. You have to give 4 inputs. And the formula to calculate this total amount is this. So the total amount paid for the loan is given by the formula, this formula. A is accrued amount, that means including everything, interest, everything, over the life of the loan, including principal, rate, number of payments, and total number of total years of loan. Use the round function to have almost 1 decimal place. Define a function called calculate interest. The function should take principal, rate, number of payment, number of years as a parameter, and return interest. So it didn't specify anything about the try exception handling, anything about the input issues. So we don't need to worry about the input handling. We can simply write a function using that formula. I think we have already done this the same problem before. I think problem lab 2 or lab 3, I'm not sure. But we are doing the same thing by using the function concept. Okay, you can even refer that previous problem that we have done. The calculate interest is the function name. And what are the parameters? P, rate, pay, that is number of pay and number of year. Number of pay per year and number of year. These are the 4 parameters. And how total amount, maybe we'll say amount. Formula is P, that is principal rate, 1 plus the interest rate, which we can say rate, divided by number of pay, exponential. Look at the formula, I have given the formula here. Exponential, so that should be, it should be the exponential thing. Okay, so exponential n pay into n year. Formula, return the amount of interest. Oh, we have to calculate the interest rate. I will read the problem once again. Yeah, we are calculating the we are not finding out the accrued amount. We are finding out the interest amount only. So to find out the interest amount alone, how can we do that? Total amount minus the principal amount, right? And how can we do that? Total amount, which we have saved in the variable amount, minus the principal amount. That will be the what? That will be the interest that we have paid. And they ask us to round it to 1 decimal. So let's apply round function with the attribute 1. Okay, so we are returning that. So let's get all those inputs in. The float, input, enter principal amount. For it rate, interest rate divided by 100. Number of pay, normally it will be how many pays that we want to do per year. it should be integer. And then number of years. That is also integer. So interest paid maybe that we can simply print this immediately, or what we can do, we can create a variable I, and we can call this calc interest function by passing these input values. Print okay. So now let's try the input value 12, number of payments per year 12, number of years 12. Okay, so let me check what's happening. Okay, I got it. So I didn't do any return here. I have to return it, right? Either I have to print out or do the returning, or else function doesn't have. So I have to return the value, then only it will be returned and saved here in this variable. That will be printed out here. Okay. That's also 12. You can see total number of total interest paid is this amount. Okay. So that's what it's a very simple problem. We have already done, but just applying the function concept. Now let's look at the last problem. This is also we have kind of done before, but with little bit more of statistical built-in functions that we are going to use. Write a program that calculates some basic statistics from set of sales using a function called calcstats that takes sales as parameter, calculate the min-max range and average values. Print the output as shown below, like this. Ensure that all inputs are entered as numbers. In addition, make sure that the correct number of arguments are provided. So we are going to check two things. So far in the exception handling, we have checked only whether proper data is entered, proper data type is entered. But with this, we are going to do one more check. That is whether all five values are entered as input. Okay. So if there is less than 5, then that will not be considered. So we are checking two exceptions here. So it's a new challenge for you. Problem number 9 is a good example for you. It's a good learning. Okay, so we had to do two type of tie exception. One tie exception is to check whether it has 5 inputs. Let's do that first. Number 1, input. Enter the first input. To see whether this exception, this try is to see whether there is correct number of inputs. fourth input. Okay, so this exception that we are right now working on is to check the number of inputs. Except. So if it is not there, we are not checking anything. We are checking whether it is 5. If it has 5 variables, then only it will process. Else it will say what it should say. It should say the wrong number of sales provided. Okay. It wants to see 5 variable. It doesn't see 5 variables, then it gives the error message. Okay, next thing. Yes. So inside this else, we are giving other try. What is this try? This time we are going to check whether all entered numbers are numerical. Okay, so for that, every number we are going to check. It is numerical input, integer. Okay, number 2. Number 5. Okay, so if there is not an integer thing, then we have to, what error message that we have to pass, that should be inside this except. What should we say? All the input should be numeric. Else, so we have never done this before inside the else defining the call, but it works. So we are specifying call states function inside this. Passing this parameter n3, n4, n5. What it should calculate maximum value. For that, we're going to, there is a function, built-in function in Python that will return the maximum value. So built-in function that will just get all the inputs and find the maximum. Okay, maximum value. Similarly, we have to write min. So min function, mi min n1, n2, n3, n4, n5. And range thing, it's easy, like we can do that so we don't need any function for that. So me minus mi value will give the range. The average also we can do it ourselves. We don't need any external function for that. To find out average, that will be saved in average. Now we have to print everything. Min mi print max ma print range maybe since there is already range is the built-in function, that's why it shows it in as a green one. So we are not supposed to use any reserved words as a keywords as a identifier. So I'm just changing the name to not a, I'm just changing the spelling for range. Okay, so function definition we have written inside the inside else bar. Now let's call this function. We're passing all this previous one, all this input. Run this 100, 400, 600, 900, 200. String integer. So I will run it again. I have verified. Okay, you can see I just change it back to range function. It doesn't matter whether if it is keyword or not, should work. Okay, should work. Because we're not calling any function here, we are doing some calculation. Okay, so this is the result solution for the 9th problem, where we are using 2 trials, 2 exception handling. One to check number of inputs, and the another one to check the type of inputs and exceptions for those 2 checking. And then in the main problem is to find the calculation amount. So for we are using max and min function, which are built-in functions of Python. And then for average and range, we are doing manual calculation. Now here we are doing the function calling. Okay, so this is the result for solution for the 9th problem. So now you can just take a printout PDF. Okay, print and say take a PDF of this and save it and submit the Jupyter Notebook file along the PDF file for Lab4. Okay, see you next video to next lab. Thank you.